Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Market Insights with Linux, and welcome to this new video on the stock markets. In this video, we'll zoom into the S&P 500, of course, which I try to do when taking a look at these at the general stock market. But we'll talk a little bit about Apple as well, because today we got some news, some tariffs-related news. So first of all, we'll talk about that. I think most of you are already in the know about what it is about, but we'll talk a little bit about what that means for the stock markets, which so far have opened lower, but are still bullish. All right. If you take a look at the structure, first of all, we're still well above the trend, which is right now at around 5,650. But we're also like we have this like the most important support level for the S&P 500, in my opinion. And we've spoken about this on Monday as well, that this was my buy zone. Now, we haven't reached my buy zone yet, but that is the same area, which is right here at 5,770 down to 5,700. And we're still holding that, and we're not only holding that, but we also found strong support right here at the first support level of that entire level. And the top of the gap we left right here after the weekend of the 10th and the 11th of May. So yeah, that's what we'll talk about. I'll show you all the relevant data for today, and then we'll talk about what the expectations are. Now, the major news that we had today is obviously tariffs. All right. So first of all, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to load the posts. So we had two tariff-related posts by Donald Trump. First of all, about Apple, that at this point of time they're shifting quite a lot of manufacturing, a lot of production of iPhones to India instead of China. And what Donald Trump tweeted is that if they continue doing that, they have to pay at least 25% in a tariff to the US, unless they start manufacturing in the United States. Obviously bearish. Apple opened much lower. In general, like Apple was already affected more by all the tariffs news, and there was already a bit of tension between Tim Cook and Trump earlier, but this doesn't do the price any good, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then apart from that, a reignition of the trade war and uncertainty, with Trump talking about the European Union and recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting June the 1st, which is pretty soon. It's next week. So in general, look, what this has caused so far is a lower opening, of course. But what I think is more important is just more instability. All right, you can see the volatility index spiked up today, has opened much higher than yesterday. Gold is rallying, which is great for some of us, but that's also a sign of more instability. So right now, it really depends on what will be the continuation of this news, right? And so far, the European Union has been pretty steadfast in not giving in to Trump's demands, right? So at this point of time, the market is actually holding up relatively well, right? So this 50% tariff, either the market doesn't really care that much about it, or the market doesn't really take it serious. Personally, I do take it serious, all right? And even though the stock market has found support right now, and I do think, at least for the short term being, we will be able to hold this general support level around 5,700. I do need to see a strong reaction from that, and I do need to see this being resolved, because the trade between the US and the European Union is that big that if they do not come to some sort of a trade deal, like if they're really just going to put these super high tariffs on each other, I think that there's a realistic chance that the S&P 500 is going to be trading below 5,700 again, which would be a structure break and could be the catalyst for a move back down into 5,400. So in that sense, it's pretty serious. Now, as it stands right now, like I said, I trust the markets, right? Volatility index opened higher, also came back down a little bit. And ultimately, this doesn't mean that it will happen. He's recommending a straight 50% tariff. And I could also see the EU giving in, right? But that is something we do have to keep our eyes on. We do need to keep our eyes on the general news and all the communication channels of the EU and the US delegates in this trade deal. So for now, I'd say that, this is definitely bearish, right? Don't get me wrong. But I do think it's most likely we'll be holding that level at 5,700, and we'll also be able to get a move up from there again. But to be continued. And I would definitely, in any instance that we do see a further escalation of this, an even further escalation, because of course this is already an escalation, keep your eyes on 5,700, and if there's an escalation, there's a chance that we break down below that, which structure-wise would be incredibly bearish. But that is something I'll keep you updated on as well. So keep an eye on the channel, keep an eye on the Telegram, the free Telegram channel we have as well, if you're interested in that. Talking about Apple, you can see right here, it opened at the support level right here at 194. In general, doesn't look great, right? A lot of stocks actually were able to reclaim their respective resistance levels. So for Apple, that was the level around 210. Wasn't able to break above that already. And just in terms of the structure, I mean, if you compare Apple to NVDA, for example, NVIDIA is back at the same levels as the 27th of February, and just in general the month of February. And if you take a look at Apple, it's not there by a long shot, right? And I don't expect it to get there. And honestly, if we do see that escalation between the US and the EU, look, at this point of time, I think Apple is pretty stable right here, around $200. But if we see that escalation, if the S&P 500 drops down below 5,700, I can see Apple going for that major support level at 175 easily as well, which in my opinion is a buy area, but still would be pretty bearish. So again, keep your eyes on that. For now, I expect stability, again, dependent and contingent on no further escalation. I'll definitely keep you updated on that though. So those are my thoughts right now on the news, on the stock markets, on Apple specifically. If you do have any questions, let me know down in the comments. But for now, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend in advance, and bye.